Hello, everybody. This is Lucy Nathanson. Welcome to Confident Children. So, this channel is all about raising awareness of selective mutism. Confident Children specialises in helping children with selective mutism. And today, we're really lucky to have Kim Joy on the channel with us. So, Kim Joy was a finalist in the Great British Bake Off. She is also a cookbook author. She's got some amazing baking recipes on her Instagram. If you haven't yet seen, check them out. She's also a mental health advocate, and she has spoken publicly about her history with social anxiety and selective mutism. And she very kindly offered to come on the channel to share her experience with us today. She's also recently written this book, which I've just finished, called Ordinary Joy, A Realistic Guide to Being Yourself. And it's a self-help book, but what I really liked about it was very relatable. Kim Joy shares her personal stories throughout it. It's very easy to read and lots of links to psychology, which I love because I studied psychology. It's just a really nice book to read. So I'd recommend it. So thank you, Kim Joy, for being
Yeah,
here.
thanks for having me. Yeah.
Before we go to the questions, for those who aren't familiar with selective mutism, it's an anxiety-based condition whereby children, young people, and even adults struggle to talk in some situations. So they can talk freely at home with close family, but they're unable to talk in other situations, such as school, in public, maybe with extended family members, and so on. What I really liked is in Kim Joy's book, she actually has a whole chapter 4, I think it is, all about her experience with selective mutism. If it's okay, Kim Joy, I'm just going to read a short paragraph of how you described selective mutism because I thought that was
Cool.
lovely.
I mean, it's different for everybody. So it's kind of, this is my personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never heard it described in the way that I'm about to read it, so I found that really interesting.
Oh, okay.
So it says here, selective mutism isn't something you choose. It's like being led to a prison by someone you trust, then before you know it, you're locked in. The keys are on the other side of the bars, just within reach, but you're too scared to put your hands through and get them, because you don't know what else could be out there. For me, going to school every weekday and feeling constantly terrified was traumatic. So, such a deep description of that fear and, the keys are on the other side, but you're just too scared to put your hands out to reach to get them because you just don't know. Yeah, it just makes so much sense.
Just hearing that back now, it kind of brings back the emotions. It's weird when I write it, it's different. And somebody else saying it back to me is, yeah, it makes me feel, oh, yeah, even though I'm different now, it kind of stays with you. I always say that it kind of can morph, like social anxiety is still there. There's always that little bit.
Mm, yeah, that's so interesting. So I'm interested to hear, when did you first realize that you found it hard to speak in certain situations?
Yeah, so it's actually, I really appreciated you mentioning that it's not just in children, it's teenagers, even adults, because the common misconception is that it's just in children. So I love that you said that. For me, it started in beginning of secondary school. I had a friend in primary school. I used to always look up to her and think, I wish I was like you. But when I started secondary school, I think it's such a big change. Suddenly there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of bigger kids, there's a lot of noise. I don't know, people talking about different uniform, even the different uniform bit I couldn't deal with. I lost my friend. That sounds like a weird way to phrase it. Not lost, but like she made a new friend, and I just stopped being able to just, I don't know, I used to follow them around, so like walk behind them, and I just didn't know. I just couldn't do it.
Hmm.
So I got ditched. And then I was friendless.
And were you unable to talk as soon as you started secondary school, or did it develop over time?
I feel like it was, my recollection is it was pretty much right. It was right at the beginning where she made, a new friend. And then that was sort of not, I think, one of the contributing factors of it. Um, Yeah, so I think it was quite early on.
Hmm. And did you know the term selective mutism at that point or later?
No, absolutely not. Or if I looked it up, even when I was a teenager and I looked it up, I thought, oh, that's maybe not me. I don't know. Nobody spoke to me about it. Nobody in school spoke to me about it. But it's also lesser known when I was growing up compared to now. Like I feel like even like now it's still not known.
Mm. So was it only as an adult that you like came across the term?
I think I can't remember. I think I came across it maybe as a teenager, but it's only as an adult that it really clicked for me.
Hmm.
Um, I think it might have been like I might have looked it up and seen everything about it only occurring in children and thinking, oh, I was older, so it can't be that.
Mm. Sure. So how would you describe your younger self?
Mm, quite definitely very anxious and struggled a lot. You know, my family background is kind of very difficult, full of, yeah, complicated. And I was always, I think, quite quiet in public, but very chatty at home. So I always felt like my family, you know, when I was, you don't really see that many people outside of home until you really get to secondary school. And my family, I don't know, you get used to that. And
Mm.
then other people outside that are like, this is like alien people. Even though I had a lot of struggles at home, it felt like, I don't know, what's the word? Kind of my family are all very strange. I know a lot of people say that, but yeah, properly. And I think I fitted in with that. And then in the normal world, I felt like I can't fit in.
Mm. And were you completely non-verbal at school? Like you didn't talk to your peers
So
or adults?
the register was what I really remember. And I that's the bit where you're expected to talk. So that's the only bit I felt like the rest of the time. My cat just really sighed. It was really cute. So I tried to answer the register, and I didn't. One of the things is not knowing, and I've read about other people having this experience, is not knowing what volume your voice will come out at. I'm really feeling it here. And I was really scared my voice would come out like I'm shouting because I couldn't, like, I don't know. And but yeah, I think how it actually came out was like a whisper. And I put my hand up like this. And the teachers always made a point of looking around when it came to my name. And I
Mm.
was like, you're really making a point of this. I feel like you know I'm here, but maybe they didn't. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, it's so difficult that kind of that register and yeah, it's that anticipatory anxiety as well because it's happening every day and it's that expectation just can feel really difficult.
Yeah. So I feel like when I read like people can like whisper sometimes and things like
Mm.
that, or in a different setting, you could talk lots.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And was there anything that made you feel safe or even confident at that point?
Not in school. Um, not really. Not really. Let me think. Probably just like playing some video games, escapism. Mostly escapism.
And do you remember any adults, I don't know, any teachers that maybe you thought that they actually helped in any way or was yeah,
No, they
okay.
didn't really like say anything or do anything. I guess they just thought, you're quiet or something. No, um, no,
So you weren't offered any help or any no.
no. Well, there was one time I started skipping school as like before GCSEs, I just couldn't, I went to the library instead. And actually the head teacher, well, called my mum and I told my mum, oh, I've just been at the library, which I had been, but I wasn't studying. I was just like, I can't remember what I was doing. But yeah, the head teacher spoke to me. She said, oh, where have you been? And I managed to quietly say, library. And she kind of just accepted it because she was like, oh, studying. Yeah, studying. And that was it because I had good grades. I did well at school. But it really sunk towards GCSEs when you actually have to put work into it. So that seems like everything they cared about is, oh, you're doing well at school, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, people can kind of slip under the radar if they're doing well, and yeah, it's not seen as an academic concern. So yeah, okay. So was there any, like, do you remember, and I appreciate these are probably quite challenging questions, like, was there anything that any adults did that made it even easier or harder for you to communicate?
Um, like pressure to communicate is the main thing. You know, there was one pressure really, like attention on me, like if they put attention on me or they'd ask me a question deliberately, because I think in their minds, this is helpful. I mean, yeah, there was a time we have to go through the class and everyone reads a chapter. And I did sort of do that. I don't, but it was like nobody could hear. I was trying, but I just, I, yeah, so that pressure just makes it all worse. I couldn't do that.
Makes so much sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And was there anything that people did that made things easier that you remember?
Just ignore me. That was easiest. Leave me alone and ignore me. I wanted to be invisible. I
Yeah.
didn't want any attention.
Yeah, and interestingly, my most popular YouTube video is called the do's and don'ts when interacting with a child with selective mutism.
Yeah.
And it's, don't ask the child any questions before they're
Yeah.
ready. Don't put the spotlight on them. Don't make extreme eye contact with them because these things just add so much pressure, just make it so much harder. It's almost better to be friendly and say hello, but not
Yeah.
to almost ignore someone with selective mutism, to give them
Yeah.
space to just breathe and realize that you're not a scary person who's going to be trying to get them to speak.
Yeah. Like if they just acted normal kind of thing. But yeah, I never really, I don't know. Maybe some people did, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. I was just known as a person who doesn't talk. I
Yeah.
remember sometimes one time, like one of the other kids was like, oh, I bet she talks loads at home. And I felt really like, oh, terrified because I was like, that's true. But my secret is blown. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And did you overcome the selective mutism while you were at school? Do you remember like, ever starting to speak at school, or did that happen once you then moved to a new environment?
New environment. I always felt like I guess you initially it starts and then it builds up and you become known as the person who doesn't speak. And then there's so much pressure to begin. So I purposely went somewhere else for sixth form, even though my original school would have probably been better in terms of education. I was like, I'm going somewhere else. And then there, I did start trying to speak, but still considered very weird and very quiet. And I didn't make any friends. But when I went to university, that did change. I think I learned a lot of social skills through mimicking other people. So, I mean, a lot of the times it was quite embarrassing when I look back on it. But luckily, I managed to make friends and obviously become more myself as time went on.
Mm. Yeah, we find often that it doesn't always happen, but moving to new environments can almost you have the opportunity to recreate yourself and have start a
Yes.
new identity almost.
Yeah.
And each new environment could be almost like a stepping stone to your true self, hopefully.
That was exactly it for me, for sure.
So then
Yeah.
at uni then, was that when you were finally able to,
Yes.
communicate freely?
Yeah, definitely. I was talking and everything. I still wasn't myself, but I still didn't feel like me because I was trying to be a certain person, but I was speaking. But I feel like every step that I've moved on has become a lot better for me.
Mm.
Being on television, bonkers.
I
You
know.
go from
Wow.
having selective mutism to being on television. I mean, sometimes I think about that, and it's really interesting because my theory is I think I've started looking into it, and actually recently I got an autism diagnosis. And my thoughts are, what was I talking about actually? Um,
So going like the craziness that then you ended up on television with the history of
yes.
you
So it's kind of, I guess you kind of have a character on television. You're not
know.
talking to all these people who are watching it. It's very different. I don't know if you put me in a social situation, a specific social, I probably feel worse. Yeah, I don't
So
know.
interesting. Well, actually, I was going to my next question was how did you navigate the like pressures of being on television and all the challenges and that that come with that. But I suppose you've just answered that with you kind of had it was almost like being a character.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very difficult, and I still say it's the hardest thing I've done. I don't think, if you ask me now, I don't think I'd do it again, even though it's been so beneficial, I guess. Um, I think there's certain things they cut out because obviously it's not consistent with your character. In week one, during the showstopper, I just cried. I was baking and set and crying. And then they asked me, "Oh, why are you crying?" And I was like, "No reason, just too much." So they didn't put that in the edit because it made no sense. If I was crying for a specific reason, it'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." But yeah, it's just a very unfamiliar environment. Um, a lot of people trying to. What the good thing is if you all share an interest, I find that a lot easier to socialize. And so we could always talk about baking and being on the show. Similar to like board games, I'm really into. If I have a task and I'm with other people, I feel much better.
Mm, that makes a lot of sense. Did
Mm.
you use any like coping mechanisms to help you, um, with social anxiety or even communication during that period?
In secondary school or later on?
I meant when you're on the show, but if you have any that you want to share across different stages, that's also
Yeah. Um, Coping mechanism. The main thing, and I mentioned this in my book, is the importance of having people there to support. And I feel like I didn't really have that growing up. And I found my partner Nabil, and he's very like securely attached, really, really good for me because I'm a bit, yeah, everyone's a mixture of different attachments, really. Um, but yeah, that it's almost like a secure base. Once you have that, then you can venture out and do things that challenge you, um, and be vulnerable because you have something to come back to.
Yeah. And I suppose you just made me think as a therapist, perhaps sometimes we're that for the child, helping them to maybe
Yeah.
be a bit braver than they would be able to be otherwise. So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
It is really amazing what you do. I'm sure you hear this all the
Oh, thank you. Oh, I love it. Love it so much. It's yeah,
time.
it's the best job in the world. So do you feel that maybe like baking has helped? Because you're obviously so expressive with your baking, and do you
Oh.
think maybe that's a way to has been a way to help you to, communicate when words weren't maybe possible in the past, or do you think
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just maybe I'm making a link that's not there. I'm wondering your thoughts.
Oh no, definitely. I think it started off because I wanted friends, and I realized if you bake something, people love that. I think my first memory of that was making mince pies at Christmas and sort of extended family loving it so much, would rave about the mince pies, and it just makes you feel happy.
Oh, amazing. That's so, yeah, great. So interesting. Yeah. Okay. My next question was about how do you handle expectation to speak up publicly, like in interviews or media appearances?
If somebody's asking me questions and I'm answering those questions, like we're doing right now, I feel like I come across very confident. I never feel it. Like I was on the New Year's Bake Off and I felt so anxious, and I watched it back with friends, and they were like, "You look so confident." Like you're like, "Oh, this is nothing," and I was like, "I wasn't feeling that way." But it's dependent on the situation. If I had to do a speech on my own with nobody asking me questions, I really struggle. I feel, all the physical symptoms. I start not really being able to talk. Like recently, I work with a charity called 𝗕𝗵𝗶𝗃𝗄𝗃, and it's amazing what they do. They help disadvantaged women baking skills, barista skills, get them back into employment. And we did like a free multiple course dessert evening, and I had to say something, like stand up there and say something, and I had these plans in my head, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, but then I couldn't get my voice out. So yeah, I had to make like a bit of a somebody else sort of interjected and saved me, and I just laughed.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine it depends on the situation. I just had a flashback to when I was teaching. I used to be a psychology teacher for A level, and on my leaving, there was a party, and I was leaving, and I spontaneously they said stand up and do a speech, and I just remember completely like freezing and not knowing what to say. And I think it's because
Mm,
I wasn't comfortable with the people there as well.
mm.
Um, and it was like just on the spot. So yeah, I think yeah, it makes sense that potentially it's, situation dependent.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things as well I just thought of is I'm quite dependent with my partner Nabil, because like if I go away, I have to have him with me. There's certain situations I could do without him. It's mostly task-based situations. When it's like, ooh, making contacts, I really hate it. So if he's with me though, I find it helpful because I can sort of get him to take over when I'm like, don't really have anything to say. Um, I don't really, I feel like I struggle to click with people and connect, even though it might seem like I do. Um, yeah, I can really struggle with it. It just, I don't know, like when is the conversation going to end? What to do? I get really stuck.
Thank you so much for sharing because, so many people I'm sure watching this, either they themselves have felt that way or they know their child does.
Mm.
So to hear somebody else voice it can just be really freeing and validating. So yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
okay. I hope it makes sense to people. Obviously, everyone's experience is completely different. But yeah, hopefully my experience relates to some people.
And are there any misconceptions about either social anxiety or selective mutism that you would love to, you know, correct?
Yeah. Well, one of the misconceptions we talked about earlier, that it's just in children. Another thing is, I think I've read about, the wording selective mutism. People think it's stubbornness or you just refuse to talk. And it's more like like my description, like you're in a cage. Yeah, you feel really trapped. There's loads of misconceptions. It's hard to think of top of my head. You will know all the misconceptions for sure.
Yeah, and I do, obviously, if anyone wants to delve deeper, I do have videos on this YouTube channel,
Yeah.
myths about selective mutism and facts, etc., etc. So, but yeah, you've summarized a good few of them, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
And I feel like sometimes like a whisper can happen and things like that as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a like low profile and high profile selective mutism, and the children with low profile selective mutism often almost their needs might be overlooked because they may be able to say the bare minimum to get
Yeah.
by. So maybe
Yeah.
they are able to answer the register because the fear of the disapproval outweighs the fear of talking. So they're just pushing themselves just to
Yes.
say that one
Yes.
word. Um, so
Yeah.
and they might not be seeing the selective mutism, but absolutely they're having that same
That's
anxiety and they need the support.
that's really interesting. I think that's why I struggled so much with the registers because it's other times you can just not talk. It's fine. It's not fine, but but the register is like, there's an expectation. I remember I was in music class. I might have written about this in my book. And one of the teachers, because I didn't really answer the register properly, I think I tried to. And she said, I think, this is a misconception of people trying to be helpful, but not. Um, she said, if there was a fire, nobody would hear you.
Such an awful thing to say to a child, to anyone.
And then what made it worse is like the kids around me were like, she's going to cry. And I was like, don't put attention on me. And then I actually started crying. And I was like, oh no. And it was mortifying.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah, hopefully these things will happen less and less due to the awareness raising like what we're
Yeah.
doing right now.
Yeah.
So, like, do you have any advice for, say, teachers or school staff in general, how better to support someone with selective mutism?
Kind of things that we've kind of discussed, like not putting pressure. Um, I don't know, they often think, if I force you to say something that you're going to feel better, but actually it does the opposite. And like you said, just like not ignoring what I always wanted to be ignored. But if a teacher said, oh, hi, and smiled, that's nice. So maybe I was okay with that. But yeah, no pressure talk. Not so much emphasis on if you're doing academically okay, that you're okay, like noticing. Yeah. Because I think social skills you learn from school are very important. It's not just solely academic. Um, there'll be loads more. Not sitting you in a really prominent place. Like they put me at the front of the class just to stress me out. I wanted to be in the back of the class because it's not just speaking, it's also, for me, it was appearance. So I never changed my haircut because I didn't want people to notice that was different. I didn't change my uniform. I always wore trousers. I was terrified to change my shoes. All of those things. Yeah. I even walked like really stiffly and I was walked the same. I felt, yeah, no expression.
Mm, yeah, and that's another so an interesting point because selective mutism is so much more than just not being able to speak. A
Mm,
lot of the children, young people that we work with struggle with, if expressions and just being able to walk in a more relaxed way,
yeah,
and very self-conscious.
yeah. And there's all the internal feelings as well that people don't see that, like the physical symptoms of your heart really racing, feeling it in your throat, feeling, yeah, that stiffness. When you get home, it's like, ah, even though being at home wasn't great, I still could express myself.
Mm. Do you think it would have helped you as a teenager if somebody asked you, for example, where, you could have written down your responses, where would you like to sit in the classroom? Where would you feel more comfortable? Like, what would help you feel more comfortable at school?
I think so, yeah, especially if it was like paper form or something, that would be my preference. But I think possibly if they asked me, that would be because I could just point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been fine. As long as they don't ask me that in front of other people, there's a specific, like I'd feel more comfortable. So like when my head teacher spoke to me, it was just me and her, but we were in the playground, and that made it a lot worse because
Mm.
other people hit listen in. So yeah, or I wouldn't be able to talk to somebody who knows somebody that knows that I don't talk, even
Mm.
though I think I could talk to you. But yeah, different contexts. Like one of my neighbors went to the same school, and that was the worst because I was like, I can't mix the two things, the two identities.
Yeah. No, everything you're saying is just like people watching this, especially people who already follow Confident Children, will be like, yes, yes, yes. Everything just, yeah, makes so much sense. And for those who are learning about selective mutism, it's just so, it's so much information and so interesting. Yeah, wow. And I think good point there that when we interact with children or teens with selective mutism, doing so discreetly in a way, just being aware that they are often very self-conscious. So if and we recommend often, especially with teenagers, finding out what their preferences are and including them in their intervention plan, but doing so in a way that is very discreet and
Yes.
one-on-one, and maybe even finding out that they tell their parent at home and that gets passed on to school, or in a written form with a trusted adult who they already have a
Yeah.
rapport with. So all of these things make such a big difference, and what you've described just fits perfectly in with that.
Yeah, I think I would have benefited if somebody was there and could talk to me, one on one. Nobody else would know that they were doing that. And I feel like, that could have really helped.
Hmm. So what would you, thinking back to your teenage self, what would you tell that younger version of yourself?
I always say the experiences I've had aren't ones that I would, I don't know, they kind of, mm, you know, I feel like I can't imagine it having gone another way unless I was in a different school, a different time kind of thing. But I mean, I just tell myself things get better. But that was one of the thoughts that always, like every single day, because time goes on forever when you're a kid and also when you don't really talk to people, and it's terrifying. So every single day I tell myself, this will come to an end. Once I get change of environment, this can get, so I knew it could get better, if that makes sense, but it can't get better in my current situation. But
Mm.
I never exactly knew what the future is. So if I could just go back and be like, you're going to write books and you're going to do this cool stuff, then that would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Oh, amazing. What would you say has been the most like healing or freeing part of your journey up until now?
Freeing, healing. Making friends. Making friends is really nice. Um, um, I guess being able to do what I love is really nice. Um, Freeing and healing. I think because we discussed before, we both did psychology and sociology. And I think that was helpful because it makes you think a lot more about your own background, other people's, um, and yeah, that was healing, just thinking through things, figuring things out. This is what happens, making sense of things in your mind.
And I'm assuming writing this book was, you had the opportunity to actually really, you know, process all of that.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes, yeah, just speaking about it is good. Like I'm speaking to you, and it is a bit scary, but also, yeah, freeing kind of because you realize also just knowing there's other people who struggle with the same things. Not that that's a good thing, obviously, but yeah, it's that connection.
Mm, of course. And is there anything you do currently to help with your mental health and just
Yeah.
healing?
Um, for me, I've always said all my interests come from wanting to be comfortable. So what I find healing, I'm really into interior design. So yeah, I decorate stuff. Wait, what was the question again?
Yeah, is there anything you do to help with your mental health?
Oh, yes. So cozy things, just little things, candles, plants, looking after those things, delicious food. Um, I still struggle a lot, not as much, but it's always there internally. I can struggle. Executive function is a very difficult thing for me. And so, what can help is other people giving me goals to do stuff. Because that really impacts on my mental health because it's a bit of a vicious cycle where I'm like, why am I not doing this basic thing? And then there's consequences of that. Um, yeah, I try to look after myself, and I wouldn't say I do the best job of it, but like in the book and what I mentioned in the book is, and us studying psychology and sociology, we're always sort of reflecting. And I think that reflection is important, even if you can't totally make a massive change, at least you're thinking and progressing in some kind of way, even if that kind of goes downwards for a while, you're figuring things out. Um, yeah, just trying to be as patient with myself as possible. I wouldn't say there's like an instant cure-all or something that would work for everybody. I try to avoid that in my book and just, yeah, everyone's different. And what works for you is different.
Do you have any final message for those who might be listening who are currently experiencing selective mutism?
Um, I would, I empathize, even though our experiences, may be very different, may be similar in some ways. I hope that you can relate to what I've said here. And basically, it is hard. It is really hard. And you aren't defined by that. You are more than that. Because a lot of people externally to you can talk to you like, I don't know, this is you, and you aren't just somebody, you're different in different environments as well. So you know that that's not your defining factor. Um, and, things can change, to remember that we're not static. I don't want to say anything that's too, I don't know, because all our experiences are different. So I wouldn't say this is what you definitely have to do. One thing that's really good is looking at other people's experience. That's what I found really helpful. Being able to relate to what other people are saying has been really helpful. Sometimes getting your thoughts out if you're into writing or anything. Find something that brings you joy, and that could be different for everybody. And it doesn't have to be speaking. Speaking is not like the be all and end all. You know, communication is much bigger than that. Um, So yeah, I, you know, empathize and I'm rooting for you, even though I don't know you personally. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And do you also have any final message for maybe a family member or somebody that knows, a friend or a family member, somebody who knows somebody currently experiencing selective mutism?
Yeah, I'll try put myself into those shoes. Obviously, I'm not in those shoes, but I think not obviously know what we discussed about, not putting pressure, things like that, but also remember, you know, you need support as well. It's both of you. Um, if you're listening to this, you're already trying your best, you're trying to learn more. So give yourself some credit for that and have support yourself. You're doing the best you can with what you have.
Oh, thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation, Kim Joy. I really, really enjoyed it. I really,
Oh,
really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we went in so many different directions and yeah, covered so much.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been good.
So what is next for you? Do you have any projects on the horizon?
Yes, I am actually writing. So I've run one graphic novel, which is more focused on social anxiety, and I'm writing another one. It's not out yet, but this one's more specifically selective mutism. But it's set in the future where there's robots that help that help kids in school with just any anxiety issue, mental health condition. Yeah, which is interesting. Yeah, I won't say more.
That sounds very interesting. Wow. Do you have a timeline or when that might be available?
I don't, because I'm working with an artist and she's still drawing it, so I never want to say it's exactly the same. Hopefully next year, fingers crossed.
Okay. And what's the name of, do you say you've got a novel that's already out? What's the name
Yeah,
of that?
that's called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And it's yeah, about social anxiety, kind of a lot of my own experiences I've put into that. But it's fictional because yeah, fictional characters and stuff. Although I draw a bit from different people I know and try to create a whole character that makes sense. But yeah, it's about making friends. There's a bit of a sad bit in there I don't want to spoil. But yeah, it's also realistic. So I didn't want to end it on everything's perfect and we're recovered,
Sure.
but more just learning more about ourselves and becoming more confident in different ways.
And are these books aimed at adults or teens?
Everybody,
Ah,
yeah, a lot of people buy it for like teenagers read it often because I think it relates a lot to people's experience when you're younger. But anyone, yeah, lots of adults tell me they've read it. I mean, I've initially aimed it at adults, but I guess it's everyone.
okay, interesting. Thank you. So I'll put the link to your existing book in 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you said.
Yes,
In
turtle bread.
the Yeah, I'll put that in the description below. And also I'll put links to your social media. So your Instagram is amazing, so colourful and inspiring. So I'd recommend everyone to follow Kim Joy on Instagram. Are there any other links that are important to share?
Yeah, I've got TikTok and YouTube as well. I've got a newsletter as well on Substack where I try put some recipes and talk about my home and mental health stuff.
All right, thank you so much, Kim Joy, again. Like I said, I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure it's been really useful for the viewers and, so many nuggets of wisdom and so much validation. So thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably as well.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode on confident children. And if you'd like to learn more about selective mutism, we've got so many videos all about selective mutism on this YouTube channel, as well as on our website, confidentchildren.co.uk. And if you'd like help with your child, please send us a message for our website as well. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely, lovely rest of the day. Bye.